I'm Professor Sean Smith at the ANU and Director of the NCI Australia. My background in computer research is in chemistry. So examples of projects which are undertaking virus response research on the NCI facility include three very large-scale simulation projects. One of these is from Professor Megan O'Mara's team at the ANU, and they are doing simulations of 800,000 atoms, looking at the way that the virus binds with receptor groups on a cell membrane, with a view to trying to find drugs that could potentially interrupt that binding and therefore block the virus. Professor Alan Mark at the University of Queensland is running also simulations of candidate vaccine, or vaccine candidates, I should say, and looking at how they interact with cell membrane and virus. And they're also doing studies on determining the relevant atomic and molecular parameters that you need to be able to study the interaction of certain drugs that can be used in principle to try to fight the COVID virus. And there's a third large study from Professor Inoue at the Baker Institute, where they are doing a large-scale screening of existing drugs to try and pinpoint ones which potentially could be efficient, and then they're going to go in and do detailed molecular simulations on those drugs. And a final example is from Professor Mark Wilkins at UNSW, where they're actually studying co-viral infections. And so they're looking to see whether there are particular issues that arise when there might be another virus which is infecting at the same time and causing additional complications, and trying to explore that space.
Thank you. Those are some pretty incredible case studies that you have going on at the centre. You touched on GADI, the new system that has been installed earlier this year at NCI. Can you talk about how the high performance computing at NCI has enabled and accelerated the research that you've just talked about?
Yes, the new machine at NCI GADI has quite simply enabled an entire new spectrum of research to open up, which we could never have imagined doing previously. So if we were to dial back 12 months from today, it would have been completely impossible to imagine undertaking the COVID response research that we've been able to do this year. It only became possible because of nearly an order of magnitude step up in capacity and capability as we went on to the new GADI facility.
Thank you. And my final question for you, which I personally believe to be probably the most important question when it comes to this research, is as we are in a pandemic, the sharing of knowledge and collaboration is probably more important than ever. So what initiatives are you involved in to help accelerate and advance COVID-19 research on a global level?
Yes, NCI, together with Pawsey, have joined the HPC COVID-19 consortium, which is a large-scale consortium that initially was stood up in the US as a collaboration involving IBM and other major companies with the Department of DOE and NFS, the research sector in a sense, in the US. And so NCI and Pawsey have joined the consortium in order to allow exchange of information in terms of what we are learning from our rapid response program with our sister facilities overseas. And the other international member of that consortium is PRACE, the European organization. So we're in good company, and we're able to exchange what we're learning from standing these schemes up. The researchers can engage with each other as appropriate. And that's allowing us as a global sector to respond.
And on a national level, we've talked about how Pawsey and NCI have come together in this accelerated access initiative. Can you talk a little bit more about that and about the program and its success within Australia?
Yes, the NCI and Pawsey, well, essentially the Pawsey director Mark Stickles and myself have regular conversations, and I guess it might have been about 6 months ago now, or even a little bit longer. Soon after COVID came up, we were in the middle of a conversation, and I said to Mark, look, we've got new capacity on Guardi. We've just run, we had just run the first very large-scale merit allocation call at NCI, which was for any topic. And I said, look, we could do something like this to respond to COVID-19. And Mark said, yes, we could, because Pawsey had just stood up their new cloud, which has given a huge flexibility in a range of different projects that Pawsey could respond to for users who needed that type of capacity. And so it was, I think it was a really nice example of the fact that these two facilities are able to mix and match and bring the different capacities that they have at state of the art at a given time in order to give a coordinated capacity response for something like a COVID-19, or indeed dial it back 8 or 10 months and it was bushfires. And so the ability of our two facilities to tag team in bringing what we have to the table to deliver response for national crises, I think is something that's really marked out what the two centres have been able to do in an integrated way, in a unique way actually in the national landscape.
Wonderful. Sean, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate the information that you've given to us, and I hope it will come together well in the newsletter.
You're very welcome, Aditi.
Thank you.
Okay. Cheers then.